Hey there guys, I'm Rodidywalk, and I've spent probably an unhealthy amount of time on this game. I've noticed there's not many resources for building competitive teams or learning the basics of competitive play, so I wanted to start a channel to do just that. I want to start off by showing the basics of the sand offense team I've been using. This team isn't perfect, in fact far from it, but I want to show how it is now and show how to adapt a strong team to deal with its checks and create a great one. Without further ado, let's get into sand offense. Just for starters, all the Pokemon here are going to have perfect IVs in the stats that they need, and 15s or lower in the attacking stat they don't use. First of all, let's start with by far the bulkiest member of the team being Hippowdon. Hippowdon functions as the primary stealth rock setter, as well as being a strong check to many physical attackers. One of his most important roles is as the team's primary stealth rock user. While Tyranitar and Excadrill can use rocks, they are less suited to that role on this team, as all of their move slots are needed to deal with the variety of threats you will encounter. On top of that, Hippowdon's bulk allows him to live most any hit and set up your entry hazards. The next two moves are fairly standard, with Earthquake allowing him to deal with most any Pokemon weak to it, on top of being essential in the Sand Mirror. Slack Off allows you to repeatedly check any physical attacker while healing off the damage. And finally, the last move is a matter of preference. Ice Fang allows you to touch Gliscor and the dangerous dragons, who are especially weak to it, while Whirlwind stops functionally any opponent from setting up on you. I opted with Ice Fang at the moment, but I feel I'll be switching back over to Whirlwind soon. Finally, let's look at Hippowdon's stats. Now, the EV spread on Hippowdon should be max HP, max physical defense with an impish nature. The EV spread I currently have allows him to survive an Alakazam's Energy Ball, or in most cases Grass Knot, but that's a relic of a bygone era when Alakazam was a relevant Pokemon you had to build around. I'll be updating the team later, and that's one of the changes I aim to make. Next comes Tyranitar, probably my favorite Pokemon. Tyranitar is your second Sandstream setter, and can actually benefit from the special defense boost to rock types that Sand gives. There are three very distinct Tyranitar sets, being Choice Scarf, Choice Band, and Dragon Dance. For starters, the Dragon Dance variant is not particularly viable, with the prevalence of Pokemon like Conkeldurr, who isn't really threatened by his attacks, and by the incredibly common Scizor, who shreds him with Bullet Punch. I consider Choice Band or Choice Scarf viable options for this team. While Choice Scarf allows Tyranitar to outrun basically any Pokemon up to a timid Alakazam, and lets him handle Gengar very well, Choice Band allows him to seriously threaten Cofagrigus, which can usually break defensive teams wide open. Now onto his moves. Crunch and Pursuit let you play the guessing game of, will the opponent ghost try to switch out or predict Pursuit and stay in? I'll cover how to handle this situation in videos of gameplay of this team. Stone Edge can be switched with Rock Slide for greater accuracy, but I prefer the power that Stone Edge gives. Finally, Superpower allows you to pick off a Blissey or Kabutops, but in many situations it could be preferable to run Ice Punch or Earthquake. Lastly, the stats on Choice Scarf Tyranitar are going to be max speed and attack with a jolly nature. The max speed and speed boosting nature allow you to outspeed Gengar and Starmie, which is very important to this team. Finishing out the sand trio comes Excadrill, a truly horrifying Pokemon. In the sand, Excadrill's speed is doubled, making him the fastest Pokemon in the game. His massive attack stat also allows him to one-hit KO most defensive Pokemon. Excadrill has to be careful of Pokemon that he cannot one-shot, and super effective priority users such as Conkeldurr. Life Orb is important to secure KOs on Excadrill, and the other items really don't do enough for him. For Excadrill's moves, I opted for his three most powerful coverage moves. Between Earthquake and Rock Slide, he can functionally hit all Pokemon for at least neutral damage, and Iron Head is a great stab move. For the last move, I chose Swords Dance to break through defensive teams, although it is uncommon that I use it. Rapid Spin is another option, but this team is not very bothered by most entry hazards, so I saved the move slot. For his stats, you put your EVs into max speed and attack, while the nature can be Adamant or Jolly. Adamant gives substantially more power, while Jolly allows Excadrill to outrun a majority of defensive Pokemon even out of the sand. Currently I'm running Jolly, but I think I would choose Adamant if I had the choice again. Next, let's look at Magnezone, the honorary fourth member of the Sand Corps. Magnezone is primarily useful for his ability Magnapule, which lets you hold down Skarmory and Ferrothorn while you have your way with them. This is incredibly important to the Sand Corps, because they lack a good way to threaten either of these Pokemon. They can be a hard stop to Excadrill's attempt to sweep if not properly dealt with. The two most important moves on Magnezone are Volt Switch, which steals massive damage while keeping up momentum, and Hidden Power Fire, which allows you to one-hit KO Ferrothorn if you have choice specs. Thunderbolt and Flash Cannon are just for situations where you want to deal damage but not have to switch out. They are a bit more uncommon to use in most matches. For the EVs, I opted for max HP and special attack with a modest nature. This allows Magnezone to survive most hits with his impressive resistances and threaten to KO back with his massive special attack. The next two Pokemon come down to preference. I love Gengar as he provides some very important immunities for the team, so let's cover him next. Gengar is immune to two very common attacking types in ground and fighting. while also boasting a slightly less useful immunity to normal type attacks. With his very high speed and strong special attack, Gengar is a threat to any Pokemon that isn't a dedicated special wall. This being said, he is functionally useless against the likes of Flissy or Chansey. For Gengar's moves, the three moves all Gengar should have are Shadow Ball for powerful stab, Focus Blast, which, combined with Shadow Ball, lets you hit any Pokemon for neutral damage, and Substitute to predict switches. Finally, I chose Will-O-Wisp to cripple physical attackers who Gengar cannot threaten with a one-hit KO. There are loads of options for this move, as Gengar has an expansive move pool, including Giga Drain, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Fire, or Hidden Power Ice, all being useful techs. For the EVs, I use max speed and special attack with a timid nature to emphasize Gengar's strengths, while Black Sludge gives him the HP recovery to continually use Substitute. Last, but certainly not least, comes Minshell, the Pokemon that allows this team to overwhelm most defensive cores. Minshell's high jump kick at worst 2-hit KOs functionally any Pokemon that doesn't resist it, and even a decent number who do. Combined with Tyranitar to trap and remove ghost types, Minshell becomes one of the team's chief win conditions. Regenerator is an insane ability, which allows you to heal a third of your HP every time you switch out, allowing Minshell to continually shrug off Life Orb damage, entry hazards, and Rocky Helmet chip. For starters, the most important move is High Jump Kick, for its ludicrous damage closely followed by U-Turn to generate momentum on the few Pokemon who resist High Jump Kick. Taunt is very useful for shutting down defensive Pokemon who you cannot threaten, such as Cofagrigus and Gliscor. I chose Fake Out to beat Focus Sash leads and to have a strong form of priority, but I think I will switch it to Hidden Power Ice for a solid Gliscor check later on. For the stats, run max speed and attack, but the nature is up to choice. If you run only physical moves, use Jolly, but for Hidden Power Ice variants, use Naive. So, to conclude, this is a strong team and a decent building block for entering competitive play. I would love to hear any suggestions you guys have for future videos. If I use any terms you're unfamiliar with, feel free to ask about them in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them the best I can. Until next time, enjoy Pokemmo, and good luck being the very best.